Hello security gurus, welcome to this new lecture. In this lecture, we are going to understand the individual parts of the GitOps case study that we are implementing for Mario game using Terraform. So let's jump into the action and understand each step of this GitOps case study. In the first step, we are going to use Terraform to create our infrastructure in AWS and Azure cloud. In Azure cloud, we will use Terraform to set up Azure Kubernetes cluster. In AWS, we are going to use Terraform to set up an EC2 instance where Docker and SonarQube will be deployed. It means that we are going to use the Terraform to create our entire infrastructure. There will be some prerequisites before we can use Terraform to create the infrastructure, like creating an account with Azure Cloud, creating an account with AWS, generating key pairs in AWS, and few other steps. We will see those steps as well in the prerequisite section. Once done, we will move on to the next step where we will start cloning our Mario GitHub repo on our local system. We will enable GitHub Actions for this repo and we will use Visual Studio Code to write GitHub action for our Super Mario game. GitHub Actions will help us to implement the GitOps pipeline for our Mario game. Once we have created the GitHub Actions workflow directory in our Mario game, we will move on to the next advanced step where we will implement Sonar code analysis tool for our Mario source code. SonarQube will help us to identify various code issues within Mario game. It will also help us to identify security issues in our Mario source code along with the code quality issues. We will use GitHub Action to integrate SonarQube in our GitOps pipeline. In this case, SonarQube will be present on the EC2 instance, which we will create using Terraform. As a next step, we will start Dockerizing our Mario game and we will build and push Mario Docker image to Docker Hub. As the initial steps, we will use a static tag to generate the Mario Docker image and will build and push that image to Docker Hub. We will also verify it in Docker Hub that our Mario Docker image has been successfully pushed or not. Once we have verified that our Mario Docker image has been pushed to Docker Hub, we will move on to the next step where we will start generating dynamic tags for our Mario Docker image. We will have to write some code in order to generate dynamic tags for our Mario Docker image. So it will be an enhancement to our existing code. Once we have implemented the code to generate dynamic tags for our Mario Docker image, we will move on to our next advanced step to create an application in ArgoCD and connect ArgoCD with our Mario game GitHub repo. ArgoCD will also need a Kubernetes deployment YAML file so that ArgoCD can pull the Mario Docker image from Docker Hub. We will use ArgoCD to demonstrate GitOps pull-based mechanism for deploying our Mario Docker image to Azure Kubernetes cluster. So as a prerequisite to deploying our Mario Docker image, we will have to create an application with ArgoCD. We will have to connect ArgoCD with our GitHub repo. We will also have to write a Kubernetes deployment YAML file using which ArgoCD will pull our Mario Docker image from Docker Hub. Once we have completed this step, we will be able to deploy our Mario Docker image to Azure Kubernetes cluster with the help of ArgoCD. ArgoCD will also expose a load balancer on internet so that we could play our Mario game in a browser over the internet. Hence, these are all the steps that we will be learning while implementing the GitOps case study. First, we will learn the individual parts of this GitOps pipeline one by one. Once we are familiar with each and every step involved in this GitOps case study, we will move on to implementing end-to-end GitOps pipeline using these tools. Since we will be implementing some security scans during this GitOps case study in the GitOps pipeline, like SonarQube scan, where it can identify security vulnerabilities in our source code, a container scan using Trivy, where it will identify security vulnerabilities in our Mario Docker image. So you might see DevSecOps term used at some places during this course. I have already explained the differences and similarities between GitOps and DevSecOps. So please do not get confused. As we are implementing some security scans in our pipeline, we can use the DevSecOps term as well for those stages. But still, if you have any questions, please do not hesitate to ask those questions in Q&A section and I will be more than happy to help. I hope you are excited to implement this GitOps case study. We are learning a lot of tools. You can see these tools in this lecture and we will be learning few more tools like Trivy as well. So stay tuned. Thanks for watching. See you in the next lecture.